Be'ur Mishnah Gimel, another interesting Mishnah. Ma ben HaPesach HaRishon, what's the difference between the Pesach on the 14th of Nisan, ב-14 בישראל השני, to the Pesach on 14 באייר? Are there any differences between them? So it says, הראשון, the first Pesach, אסור בבל יראה ובל ימצא. We already discussed it. The first Pesach, you're not allowed to have chametz in your house at the time that you're sacrificing. You're not allowed to have any chametz in your house. שנאמר בו, מצות יאכל את שבעת הימים. It says, מצות, you should be eating the 7 days, ולא יראה לך חמץ. You should not be seen to you חמץ. ולא יראה לך שאור בכל גבוליך. You should not have any concoction of חמץ in your entire property. וכן, and also, שבעת ימים שאור לא יימצא ביתכם. And then afterwards, you have 7 days, you're not allowed to eat חמץ. והשני, and the second one, הפסח השני, the second Pesach, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have matzah on the table, and you can also, I don't know if on the table, maybe even on the table, maybe you can also have challah on the table. But for sure you can have it right there next to it. Doesn't have to be on the table. There's a question, I don't know, we'll have to discuss. Can you actually have it? Can you eat? Can you do Seder, the Seder Sheni, do you have to do it only with matzah? Or can you also have challah? I don't know. והשני, הפסח השני, מצה וחמץ עמו בבית. For sure you can have the chametz in the house. Also the matzah in the house. But for sure you can have the chametz in the house in the second Pesach. שנאמר בפסח שני, because it says in the second Pesach, it says, how should you eat the Korban Pesach? You should eat the Korban Pesach al matzot umerurim yochluhu. It says you should eat it like the first one. What do you mean like the first one? With matzah and maror. Does it say you're allowed to matzah and maror? You're allowed to have other stuff on the table? Yeah. So one of the other stuff might also be what? Challah. What's the problem? Lo yash'iru mimeno ad boker. It says that the rule, you should not remain from it until morning still applies. You have to eat the meat before morning. ועצם לא ישברו בו. And also you're not allowed to break the bone. ככל חוקת הפסח יעשו אותו. Like all the laws of Pesach, it should be done. ודרשו חכמים, and the חכמים learn from this verse, הואיל והתורה הוסיפה פרטים על הכלל, since the Torah added details on the rule. What was the rule? All you had to say is ככל חוקת הפסח יעשו אותו. On the second Pesach, imagine the Torah would say only these words. You should do it exactly the same way you did the first Pesach. So I will apply all the rules. Exactly what I did the first Pesach, I will do the second Pesach. But now it says like this. You should do it exactly the same as Pesach, and then it enumerates which ones. This one, this one, and this one, and this one. And it doesn't say any of the other ones, so it means only these ones are included, the ones that it enumerated specifically. For example, eating it with matzah and maror, not breaking it. Everything about the chametz, it didn't say again. You know why it didn't say again? Because you're not obligated in it again. הרי הם באים ללמד, they come to teach you, שהכלל, it comes to teach you that the rule, when they say all the laws of Pesach should be done, what is it? אינו מדבר אלא במצוות שבגוף הפסח. We're only talking about, you know which rules you have to talk about Pesach Sheni you have to care about? Only the rules that has to do with the meat. Only the rule that has to do with the meat. That has to be exactly the same. שבהם שניהם שווים. So if in the first Pesach you ate the meat with matzah, on the second Pesach you have to eat the matzah. If the first Pesach you have to eat maror, you have the second. If the Pesach you're not allowed to break, you have to break. If the Pesach you have to roast, also here you have to roast. Exactly the same when it comes to the meat. שבהם שניהם שווים. In that first Pesach and second Pesach are equal. כגון שיעשה תמים, for example, it has to be without a blemish, it has to be זכר, it has to be a male, not a female, it has to be בן שנה, it has to be at least 1 year old, וסדר עבודתיו, ואכילת צלי, and all the way of preparation it, and the way that it has to be roasted, אבל במצוות שאינם בגופו, but all the other commandments that have nothing to do with the meat, for example, not to have chametz in the house, that has to do with me, not with the meat. I'm not allowed to have chametz in the house. Nothing to do with the Pesach sacrifice. That I don't have to keep. Einam shavim. That are not equal. Umikan, and from here the difference is Pesach Rishon eno nishchat ala chametz. The first Pesach you're not allowed to have chametz in your house. Vilu Pesach Sheni eno ta'un ashbatat tzor. In Pesach Sheni you're allowed to have plenty of chametz in the house. Vechametz u'matzah imo b'bayit. Even you're allowed to have chametz and matzah with him in the house. You might even be able to, I don't know, to have chametz on the table. Another difference between the first Pesach and the second Pesach. Harishon ta'un halel be'achilato. The first one, you're going to say Hallel during the meal. In the first Pesach, like we do. בזמן אכילתו, צריכים לומר הלל. At the time that we eat it, we need to say הלל. והשני אינו טעון הלל באכילתו. And the second one, we don't say הלל when we eat it. בגמרא למדים, in the Gemara they learn it, זה ממה שנאמר, from the verse in Yeshaya, השיר יהיה לכם. The song will be to you. It's talking about הלל. ביום שתגאלו מן הגלות, in the day that you're going to have redemption from exile. כליל התקדש חג, just like, כמו שנוהגים לשיר בלילה, just like we have the custom to sing at night, שבו מקדשים את החג, that we holify the holiday. ואין לך ליל חג הטעון שירה חוץ מליל הפסח. And there's no such thing as saying Hallel at night except Pesach. לילה המקודש לחג, but it has to be the night that is designated for the holiday, which means which night is designated for the holiday? The first. היינו ליל פסח ראשון, it is the first Pesach. טעון הלל, that needs to say הלל, לילה שאינו מקודש לחג, the second Pesach, you're not celebrating, it's just like a makeup. So therefore you do not say הלל on that night. היינו ליל אכילת פסח שני, the night of the second Pesach, אינו טעון הלל, because it's not in the right time. זה וזה, this one and this one, בין פסח ראשון בפסח שני, but both first Pesach and second Pesach, the Levi'im, when you bring the Korban, are going to say הלל. טעונים הלל בעשייתן. We're going to say הלל when they are going to be prepared in the Beit HaMikdash. בשעת השחיטה, in the time of slaughtering, כמו ששינינו לעיל, like we said before, שלא למעט בשמחת העזרה. Because it's a good, it's one of those, it's a good time to have a celebration. Right? You can say Hallel, it's a good time. Guys, we never say Hallel at night except on Pesach. But in the day, every opportunity we can say Hallel, we push it in. שכן אמרו, because this says, אפשר ישראל שוחטים מפסחאל ואין אומרים הלל. In other words, you're looking for an opportunity to make it into, to say Hallel. ונאכלים צלי, and obviously both of them you have to roast, שהרי מצווה שבגופו הוא, that it is a mitzvah that has to do with the flesh itself, and then על מצה ומרורים, you have to eat it together with מצה and maror, כמפורש בכתוב, על מצות אומרים יאכלו, because it specifically says that you have to eat it with מצה and maror. And another thing, ודוחים את השבת. Second Pesach also pushes away Shabbat. That if it happens on the 14th of Nisan, happens to have a Shabbat, you can bring it. Thank you. שאף בפסח שני נאמר במועדו. Because also on the Pesach Sheni it says in its time. קורבן השם לא יקריב במועדו. It says the sacrifice of God he has to bring in its time. אמנם יש סוברים שבמועדו מוסב על פסח ראשון. Some say, this Moado means the first Pesach, not the second Pesach. ולדעתם, and according to their opinion, דין זה שאף פסח שני דוחה את השבת, and it's true that Pesach pushes away to Shabbat, but not this verse, because this verse is talking about the first Pesach. So how did they learn that it pushes away Shabbat? למדים ממה שנאמר, they learn it from a different verse, they learn it from a verse that says, ככל חוקת הפסח יעשו אותו. You do it according to all the laws of Pesach, you should do it. And this is a law that has to do with the flesh itself. So this is part of the law. Just like it's a law that has to do with the flesh, you do it on Shabbat, also here you do it with Shabbat. ברם, but אין פסח שני דוחה את הטומאה. But the second Pesach can never push away Tumah. What do you mean? In the first Pesach, if the majority of the Jewish people are impure, you can bring the Pesach. In the second Pesach, if the majority of the people are impure, you cannot bring the Pesach. שכן אמרו, because they said, מפני טומאה דחיטיב. It says, because of Tuma, I pushed it to mem. Yachazor v'yaseh b'Tuma. It says, you're going to come and do it again in Tuma. ויש עוד דברים, and there are more things, שאינם נוהגים בפסח שני, that we don't do in the second Pesach, כגון שאין נשחט בשלוש כיתות, you don't have 3 groups slaughtering it, because you don't need. ואין מביאים עמו חגיגה. In other words, it's one group coming in. There's no reason to separate it into 3 groups.
Not so many.
Yeah. ואין מביאים עמו חגיגה, and also you don't bring with it חגיגה, because it's a month later. חגיגה is only in the רגל. אלא שהתנא של משנתנו לא נתכוון לפרט את כל ההבדלים, but the Tana of our Mishnah doesn't tell us all the differences שיש בין פסח ראשון לשני, that has between פסח ראשון and שני, but only some of them.